Yes, first start.
Very good. Okay. And so I just want to welcome everybody to today's session. Thank you so much for taking the time on a Sunday afternoon and taking time from your Ramadan to come and join me and learn a little bit more about NLP. Now, I believe by now you know me, right? You know that I am both a teacher and a mindset coach, that I've got a master's in NLP that I took with Dr. Richard Bandler, one of the co-founders of NLP, as well as I'm a quantum healing practitioner. And for that, I was trained by Dick Harbers, an Australian coach. And I also have a post-graduation in coaching. It was the first post-graduation in coaching in my country by a university. And I'm a neuro-language coach, which is a methodology for language teaching, which brings together neuroscience, principles of neuroscience and coaching at the same time for an effective learning journey. Now, in our previous session, if you remember, we talked about the meaning of the term NLP, and we talked about the origins of NLP and also the principles and beliefs of excellence which inform NLP practices. And we also talked about the NLP model of communication, as well as we put quite a bit of emphasis on the mind-body connection and how one thing can influence the other, and it's a two-way street. Okay, what we think can influence our physiology can influence our thinking, our thoughts, and how. And then I also shared with you quite a few tools, let's say management tools that you could use to change your state of mind. Okay. Now, today, I actually would like to start with an exercise that brings together quite a bit of the things that I shared with you on that day, and which had to do with breathing, for example, how important breathing is for our both our physiology and our state of mind. We mentioned that meditation is an amazing tool, scientifically proven even, for changing our states, because, for example, a 8-week practice of meditation actually shrinks the amygdala, which is the device that we have in our brain that very much is like our private alarm system, which is always surveilling our environment and basically telling us whether it feels comfortable or uncomfortable in that particular environment, and therefore has got an influence on our behavior, the way we perceive our situation and the way we behave. Then I would also like to take you through this meditation into a place of gratitude, because gratitude is also an amazing tool to get out of a not so positive, let's call it that way, not so positive state of mind. Okay. I don't know if you know, but if you are in a state of gratitude, you cannot be in a state of fear. Okay, so this is a state that we definitely want to be in, and that we can call at our will whenever we see the need. Okay, so I'm going to invite you to sit down if you're not sitting. But if you're sitting already, just find a comfortable position, okay? And I just want to show you one possible way of breathing that can help you if you are in a state of anxiety. And it will always be a breathing that starts in your tummy. Okay, so we want to start taking a breath in from our stomach, like babies do, allowing our stomach to go up as we breathe in. And take a deep in breath. And then on the way out, pretend that you're blowing through a straw, okay? The kind of straws that we use to drink, you know, orange juice or whatever it might be, okay? So take a deep breath in. And now let's pretend that you're going back to your childhood years and you're making bubbles in whatever liquid that you are drinking, okay? And let's do a few of those before we change into a different breath. So take a deep breath in from your stomach and out through the straw. Slowly and deeply. Another deep breath in. Through the straw. Two more. One more. And while I speak, you can keep breathing like that. While I give you instructions for the next kind of breath that I would like you to take. When we breathe this way that I've just shown you, you're sending a message to your nervous system, which is, we're okay. Okay, so that's a good start. But the next point is, the next stage is actually something that is called the heart-brain coherence, which is where we want to be in balance, okay? Because we make our best decisions, we come up with the best solutions when we are in heart-brain coherence, okay? And how do we get to that state? So I'm going to invite you to put either two fingers or your hands on top of your heart, okay? And now on the in-breath, you're going to take an in-breath with 4 counts. Then stop and then allow it to come out in 4 steps as well, okay? So let's put our hand on our heart and let's take a breath in 4 counts. Now out in 4 counts as well. In 4 counts. Out through the nose in 4 counts as well. In. Out. In. Out. 2 more. One more. And now allow yourselves to take deep breaths in whatever counts you want. Just take them deep and slow. And I would like you to bring to your conscious awareness something that you are grateful for. It doesn't have to be anything big. It can be the tiniest of things. Whatever comes to your mind, big or small, just bring something to your mind that you are grateful for and feel the feeling of gratitude. Notice its characteristics. Notice its location. When you bring gratitude into your mind, where do you feel it? And how do you feel it? Different people might feel it in different places, and that's okay. And as you are there, in that place of gratitude, feeling grateful for whatever you may be feeling grateful for, I want to invite you to bring into your memory a joyful memory. It can be recent, or it might be somewhere in the distant past. You'll know whether recent, not so recent, or quite far in the past. Whatever it might be, just bring to your memory that joyful memory. And as you bring it into your conscious awareness, notice what you notice about that joyful moment. What do you see? What do you hear? How do you feel? It's a joyful memory, but it may come with other sensations and feelings as well. Just stay there and absorb that energy, the energy of that joyful moment. Noticing what you notice that is contributing for that moment to be so joyful. And know that this memory is always at your disposal, whenever, wherever, in whatever circumstances you might find yourself in. This is an exercise that you can very easily do. It doesn't take long, but it can make a huge difference in your day. And when you're ready, and only when you're ready, you can decide to start coming back to the here and now. Joining me as we carry on with our session today. And if you so please, share in the comments what the experience was like for you. Take as long as you need. As long as you need. Okay. So if you so feel like, just share with me in the comments Very good. It made me smile. That's good. Very good. Just to remember that this is an exercise that you can easily do. Okay, start with the different breaths, the one to calm your nervous system, the other one to come to brain and heart coherence, which means coming to balance, and then start with gratitude and move on to a joyful memory. Okay, and then choose to experience your day or whatever situation you're in from that place of gratitude and joy. Okay, is that a deal? I hope so. So let's move on to our session today. Okay, so we just kind of came from the previous one to this one. And this should be known to you already. This model should be known to you already, meaning it's no news, but obviously we only mentioned it once, so I don't expect you to remember it thoroughly. So if you remember, in our previous session, I told you that we absorb information from the outside world through our senses, our sense of hearing, our sense of vision, and our sense of touch, as well as smelling and tasting. So very much everything in our lives is absorbed that way, and they're all working together at the same time, okay? So we absorb all that information as much as we can, because there's a huge amount of information around us all the time, but we can really only absorb between 5 and 9 things at a time from all the million of bytes that we have available of information that we have, or stimuli that we have available in our environment at every given second, minute, etc. So our brain can only really absorb between 5 and 9, which usually gives an average of 7 things at a certain point. And as we absorb them, right, we're going to absorb them from the age of 7, because up until the age of 7, we absorb everything with no filters, none whatsoever. But after the age of 7, we start absorbing the information in our environment through our filters. Okay, the filters that we gathered for those first 7 years. Okay, so whatever experiences we had in the first 7 years are the ones that are actually going to be like the software that is going to read our environment from then on. And so we filter them through, for example, our values, the values that we develop, our beliefs, some which might be beneficial to us and others not so beneficial to us. So some might be very empowering beliefs and other might be disempowering beliefs. And in order to actually make sense of this information that we're absorbing, we also use a tool which is based on 3 different sub-tools, so to speak, which are delusion, distortion, and generalization. It's the way that we find, and which I will be talking about in more detail in our next session, okay? So session 3. For the time being, let's say that delusion is when we delete certain things so that we can take something in a simpler form. Distortion is when we do distort the information that we get, and based on our filters very much. And generalizing is it's exactly that. It's when we generalize something because it's also easier for us to grasp, okay? Which is not necessarily the best of premises to interpret anything when you generalize. Like, for example, let me say, thinking of some things that people sometimes tell me, like students of languages that come to me and say, oh, languages are difficult. Seriously? All languages? So it's like, it's a generalization, okay? And we very often use them and we don't even realize. Now, the thing is, so the information comes in, right? But then it comes out as well, okay? Because it's not like we absorb, and we don't actually use it. We use it when we're talking, when, we use it all the time. So we're always also producing information. And when we produce it, not only do we use also deletions and distortions and generalizations, but we also very often communicate it through our representational systems. And although we use them all of us in some way will have a preferred representational system. Now, what exactly am I saying here? So let me show you. Okay, so mostly, and we're already going into the predicatives, because the predicatives, those words, those expressions that we use are clues to the people that we're talking to as to which is our main representational system. Again, let me remind you that we use them all, okay? We use them all, but there's always one which is our favorite, okay? And when we speak, we very often give people clues if only people know what they're looking for, okay? So if you are mostly a visual person, you will probably use expressions like, oh, I see what you mean. Or something like, oh, okay, that's crystal clear, it's clear, I get it, okay? Or you might use another expression like, okay, so let's focus on, so all of these are expressions that the person who's mainly a visual person will use when speaking.
Okay.
An auditory person would say, oh, that sounds interesting, for example, or I hear you, or so what's the message here? Okay, so all of these are words that auditory people actually use often. These, among others, mind you, I'm just giving you a few examples so that you can understand what I'm saying, okay, what I'm talking about. And as for kinesthetic people, which are those ones which work mostly with sensations, touch, doing things experientially, okay, are people, they say things like, I feel that, okay, or I feel that something, or get a grip, for example, okay, let's do it. This is the kind of words that kinesthetic people will use when speaking, okay? So now I would like to suggest, and I hope you'll be able to do it, okay? I'm going to share with you, and I'm going to give you some time to go over this. It's basically, it's kind of a test, okay? And okay, so it tells me that it's been sent successfully. If you can, okay, it's a PDF document. If you can open it and go through it and have a piece of paper and pen or pencil with you. And as you go through it, decide which one in each one of the sentences, which one is true for you, okay? And then the instructions are there for you to come to an end and understand whether you are more visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few minutes, roughly 5 minutes, okay, so that you can go through the quiz and then find at the end your own key, meaning what is your main representational system? Okay, which one did come out stronger than from the three possible ones: visual, auditory, or kinesthetic? Okay, so if you can do that, I'll give you 5 minutes, and then I'll ask for some people to share with me what they found out. And then I'll give you some more to think about.
When someone is talking to you, what do you do? What do you look at them? When someone is talking to you, look at them, listen. What
I'm
they
going to ask you to keep your mics mute, please, so that you don't confuse people in the call when you're going through the exercise, okay? Thank you.
Maria, PDF is not show.
What's that?
You sent PDF?
I sent the PDF twice.
No,
Okay.
here we
And
don't.
there are people that have got it because I heard them reading the test.
We
It
don't
didn't
receive
get-
PDF.
No?
No.
Strange. Because I do know that some people have got it because I heard someone reading it.
Maybe.
Yeah, see, there's people saying I received it. So I don't know exactly what's happening.
Yesterday you sent PDF. Same.
Yeah, it is. It's the VACOG one. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone don't receive PDF? Contact me on WhatsApp.
Mm-hmm. It's the VACOG one. VAKOG. Okay, so I'll give you a few more minutes. If someone has already finished and come to a conclusion, please share in the chat with me. Those of you who managed to get the PDF, if you've already gone through it, let me know what result you got. If it surprises you, if it doesn't surprise you. So let me know. Those of you who are going to receive it through the group, feel free to go through it. I'll wait a little bit longer. No problem. Because this is really an interesting discovery. For many, many reasons, which I'm going to address after the exercise. Okay, good. So do it. I'm going to give you another 5 minutes, okay? And then we'll move on to, but feel free to share the results in the chat. I'm curious to know. Okay, so for those of you joining us now, your colleagues are going, the other participants are going through an exercise which has been shared in the group to find out about your main representational system. So if we're all very quiet, it's because we're all working. Welcome to the people that have just joined us. We're all very quiet because we're all doing an exercise, which you can find in the group and which is meant to establish what your main representational system is. 2 more minutes. Has anyone been able to do it? Or are you still going through it? Any results that you want to share with me? Again, for those of you who have just come in, welcome. We're all very quiet because we're doing an exercise. Ah, interesting. So remind me, because I don't have the quiz in front of me, what are the A's and what are the C's? I can't remember. 5 C's, so interesting, yeah. Wow. Can someone please remind me, because I would have to go to leave the, ooh, amazing. Wow. Interesting. So at the end, you should have what the A stands for, the B stands for, and the C stands for. So A is visual. Okay, A is visual, very good. Interesting. So A is definitely visual. What about C? Because what I see the most is A's and C's. Is the C kinesthetic? I'm not sure, it might be. Yeah, then it's, yeah. Okay, so it's the kinesthetic one. Wow. Amazing. Right, very good. So this is actually very interesting, and I'll develop on it now, okay, just in a second. Because especially for many reasons, you should have this in mind. The fact that most people are coming up with a lot of A's or C's. And B is the least chosen one. Doesn't surprise me. Okay, doesn't surprise me at all. Okay, so if you're still doing the quiz, feel free, okay? I'm just going to move on, otherwise then we might run out of time, okay? And I still have quite a bit of things to share with you on this subject. So let's carry on. So let me just give you an idea. This looks like a patchwork, looks like a patchwork slide. But let me give you an idea of what people who have these main representational systems are like. So visual people are usually artistic and they enjoy creative hobbies like painting, but it could be other creative hobbies, okay? They tend to stand or sit up upright, with a straight spine. Eyes move up around top. So they access very much what I will show you also in the course of today's session are usually the IQs. Okay, so the IQs for visual are up. So that's why visual people tend to look up quite a bit. And they have a high pitch voice, loud, fast, and clear speech. Okay, they tend to be neat, tidy, well-groomed, and conscious of their appearance. Those are visual people. Now, auditory people are usual people who sound oriented, so sounds in the environment, for example, outside or inside, and music. So they tend to pay attention to the sounds around them, okay? They're very much aware and may even be set off by volume, pitch, tone, and pace, meaning that these people, because they are so prone to focus on sounds, sometimes they might become overwhelmed by loud noises, okay? Now, they move their eyes side to side, rather than going up, they move their eyes side to side, okay, when they're processing information. And they easily distracted by noise, and they like talking on the phone. Definitely not me. Then they can repeat word for word something that was said. They memorize things by steps, procedures, and sequences. They often talk to themselves, which is actually a very good thing, let me tell you, okay? Now, kinesthetic people like movement and comfort. They represent their thoughts through feelings. They feel everything. Okay, that they keep saying that they feel this and they feel that. Then they tend to be lower pitched, slower, quieter voice, using a slower, quieter voice. They move slowly and deliberately. When kinesthetic people speak, they tend to either, if it's possible, because we also have to bear in mind cultural situations, but for example, among women or among men, you're talking and you tend to touch somehow on a shoulder or something the person that you are talking to, okay? And if that doesn't happen, these are the kind of people that sometimes we are walking and these people seem to be completely trying to kind of glue themselves to us, okay? So they keep getting closer and closer to us. And if we want to keep our personal space, usually we have to keep stepping aside because these people tend to come close, okay? Not for no particular reason, but that's the way they are. And they probably don't even realize they're doing it, okay? And they memorize things either by doing or going through the steps, often moving around. Okay, so I don't know if you identify. Yes, you can. Remember that I said that we work with all of them. So there's the question: when can we mix two types of representational systems? Of course, we use them all. Sometimes, most of the times, there's one which is prominent. Okay. That we work the most with, but it doesn't mean that that you can't have two very much in balance. Yes, for sure, right? So that's that. So let me see what else is here. Now there's something that I want to share with you. Okay, I'm going to share this video with you, and I want you to pay attention. First, I want to start, we're going to pay attention to what this person is saying, which I believe some of you, if not all of you, know who he is, right? there's no better or worse, okay? There's no better or worse representational system to have. But I'll give you a couple of ideas. Once we've watched this video, I'll give you a couple of ideas of the relevance of all of this. Okay, why this is relevant. There's no better or worse representational system. What is important is that you know which ones are which ones are your main ones, and why. I'll tell you why that is important. Now, we're going to listen to this young man, and what I would like you to pay attention, I would like you to pay attention to what he's saying, okay, and see, based on what I've already shared with you so far, if you can guess what his main representational system, which one is his main representational system. Okay, deal? Can we start? Oops, sorry, something went wrong.
Sorry, I get caught up in the TV. It's okay. I bought this bus a year ago, and it's been so good because in quarantine, obviously you're supposed to stay socially distant. So we're able to travel in this and still be able to keep socially distanced. So we did a road trip in this bus, which was really cool. We traveled from my home in Canada all the way to my place in LA. There's something about being in your own safe, comfortable environment that you just feel comfortable and safe and protected. I don't know. One thing I do love about this bus, that I love about, I just love these lights, these LED lights. Favorite part of the bus? Well, I love the bed. This area is super cozy, but I would say my favorite part of the bus would be this area. And what I love about this, which I think is super cool, is that you can pull this out and this becomes almost like a little bed. Yes. You can just cruise here and sit. You know, it's a vibe. Cool thing about this bus is that it's usually with me when I'm on the road for tour and stuff. So band comes on here, dancers, the crew, and we just it's a good space. It's a good creative space. You're writing music on the bus? I have written some songs on the bus, not on this specific bus yet, but I've definitely written some fun songs on the bus. Well, there's a song called Memphis, which I wrote in Memphis on the bus. It's on my Journals album, and yeah, that was on a tour bus. GQ, thank you so much for coming to check out my tour bus. I had a great day with you guys, and I'm looking forward to next time. Peace.
Okay, so very good. So tell me, what do you think? What is his main? What is his main representational system? Aha. Okay. I've already seen the answer. I'll tell you now. Keep sending those answers, but I'll explain why the one that I'm going to say is the one. If you know what I mean. Any more? Anyone else? Okay, very good. Now the answer, the perfect answer actually just came in. So I must say that his main one is kinesthetic. Okay, now if you listen to the very first thing he says, let's just listen to the very first thing he says.
Sorry, I get caught up in the TV.
Sorry, I got caught up in the TV. Okay, so caught up has to do with kinesthetics. Okay, so he is kinesthetic. A lot of creative people are kinesthetic. Remember that he not only sings, but he also dances on stage. So there's a whole lot of things going on. He is visual as well. And I would say that his second one is visual, no doubt about that. But if you remember, when he talks about the LED lights, what does he do? He touches them. Okay, he loves the LED lights, and he even touches the LED lights. Okay, so that's how kinesthetic he is. He likes the visual, but even puts his hand over the lights, because that is in fact his main one. He talks about, the very first thing he says is, sorry, I got caught up in the TV. Okay, so I got caught up. That is kinesthetic. You catch something. Okay, I got caught up in the TV. And then when he talks about, for example, he says that one of his favorite places is the bedroom. Because why? Because it's cozy, it's comfortable, it's safe. All of this is kinesthetic. Okay, so all of these are kinesthetic. Yes, he's also visual, but he's mostly kinesthetic, and his language says so. Okay, his language says so. Very good. Okay, so this was one of the exercises that I had for you, so that you can start paying attention to what people are saying and understand what the main representational system is. Now, the question is, why is this relevant? Okay, now this is extremely important. First, if you know what your main representational system is, you'll be able to understand, for example, how you learn best. Okay, so that's very important, that you know. Awareness, self-awareness is always important, but knowing your main representational system means that you can also, among other things, understand how you learn best. Do you learn by doing, by reading, by seeing something, or by just listening, for example? Okay, that's important. Then the other thing which is important is that sometimes when we are communicating, if we are communicating in different representational systems, it might lead to miscommunication. Okay, because what the other person is saying is not really making sense to us. So this is extremely important for communication, because if you understand what the representational system of the other person is, you can match his or her representational system and make sure you get your message across. And guess what I am with what I've just said. Okay, so you can get your message across. Right, so different, like I was saying, different representational systems can be very confusing. Okay, if we are kinesthetic and someone is talking to us in auditory language, the chances are that we are going to be a little bit confused. Okay, so this is very important for communication, as I was saying. And that's part of groups, and this is mostly for everybody who speaks in groups. Okay, like myself, that's what I'm doing with you right here, right now. What happens is that you will want to use all of them, because if you are talking to an audience which has different representational systems, you need to address them all. And I'm going to be 100% honest here, right? Because I'm a teacher myself as well. The problem with a lot of teachers is that they focus on speaking only. Okay, and auditory is the least representational system, is the least used representational system. So if I have any colleagues here, please bear that in mind. The auditory representational system is the least used. Visuals and kinesthetics are more common. So when we are doing these presentations, speaking alone doesn't help. People need to have visual stimuli. There must be some exercises that people can do so that they can actually take in the information. Okay? So this is extremely important. So as I have here, this applies not only to when we speak, that we want to be aware that maybe we're talking to someone who doesn't work in the same representational system that we do, and therefore maybe we want to make sure that we match their representational system so that the message can be understood. And when you're doing a presentation, take that in mind. Number one, auditory is the least used representational system. So just speaking is not going to help people remember what you said, absorb the information, and you will want to use all of them because you need to use all of them to appeal to everybody. Okay, now this is extremely important. Yeah, and I was going to say something else that I suddenly forgot, but it's okay. It's okay. It'll come back to me. Okay, so a while ago, when I was showing you that slide that I told you that it looked like a patchwork, right, with information about different representational systems. I told you, for example, that people who are visual usually spend their time very much looking up. Then when you're auditory, your eyes are usually here, okay, at this level and going left and right, okay, as you are taking in information and as you process and as you're speaking. And then you've got this situation where you have the kinesthetic people who usually tend to look down a lot because that's where usually our eyes go when we are speaking or taking in information. Okay, so our eyes will go to the position of our representational system, meaning that visuals, to access visuals in our mind, we usually look up. To the left, if we're remembering something, to the right, if we are creating something, okay? Then at this level, if we are auditory, to the left, if we're remembering a sound that we've already heard, or to the right, if we're imagining a new sound, okay? And then when we look down to the left, usually we're having a inner dialogue, okay? We're talking to ourselves. And to the right, we access feelings, sensations, etc. Now, as you can read up top, this is a normally organized imap, okay? This is the optimal imap. The optimal imap works like this. Mind you, if you are left-handed, sorry. If you are left-handed, it's going to be reversed. Okay, if you are left-handed, you're going to be, the map is going to be reversed. So where a right-hand person will have the memory, which is usually on the left, a left-hand person will have it on the other side. So it's reversed, okay? Now, the thing is that very often these maps get glitches. And what causes the glitches? Stressful situations, trauma. So we learn, for example, to remove our eyes, to look away from things that in some way stress us, okay? And the same thing might happen with sounds, and the same thing might happen with feelings, where we avoid certain situations by not letting our eyes go to where they would normally go, okay? And part of the work that I do with my coaching clients is actually help them remove the glitches so that their eyes can work optimally, because that means that you're going to process everything better. You're going to process information better. You're going to process your feelings better. Your thoughts are going to be clearer when your eye accessing cues, when your eyes are going to the right places in the right situations. Okay, so that's part of, for example, the work that I do. Now, when we're talking to someone, it doesn't matter. Well, in certain situations, it matters a lot. But when we talk to people, we can see what they're doing in terms of processing information by looking at their eyes and seeing where their eyes are going. Okay, this is actually a very interesting exercise. If you want one of these days, you know, sit in front of a TV, look at someone talking and look at their eye movements. Okay, so for example, when I am in a coaching session, I'm usually paying attention to what my client is doing with his or her eyes, because I know what kind of things they are accessing. Okay, so that is, and that gives me information. Okay, is there a visual? Is there an auditory? Are they talking to themselves? Are they accessing feelings or sensations? Okay, that can be very important. For example, if people are telling me about some stressful situation, I can see what they're doing. By looking at their eyes, I can see what is it that they're doing in their minds, because if I pay attention to that, then it's my job to help them do it in a different way so that the stressful situation goes away. If what I'm saying makes sense. I know this is, yeah. But basically what I'm saying is that it's very important to be aware of where the eyes go and what's the optimal. And if it's not going there, very good. If it's not going there, then something is happening. Okay, and now I also mentioned, and you have when the content of today's session was shared with you, one of the things that showed up in the program for today was the RAM. And what exactly is RAM? RAM stands for rapid eye movement. And rapid eye movement is what we do when we sleep. In the first 2 to 3 hours of our sleep, we go into REM state. And when we go into REM state, we're allowing our brain to process everything. And if you look at someone sleeping, for example, you probably are going to notice that the eyes are closed, but you can see the eyes moving inside, okay? That means that the eyes are processing information, okay? And so those first hours of sleep are extremely important, because it's what allows us to process the information that we got throughout the day, okay? Now, because these days there are too many stimuli around us due to all these screens and so on and so forth, we should actually every now and again take some time to close your eyes and allow your eyes to REM so that you can process the information. Now, this is extremely important when you're studying, okay? Because if your brain goes into overstimulation because of all the information that you're getting, if you don't stop for a while, close your eyes and allow your eyes to REM, you're going to stay in overwhelm. If you allow yourself just a few minutes every now and again and close your eyes and allow it to process information, when you come out of that time, 5 minutes, let's put it that way, you'll feel much, much better. Okay, and not only when you're studying, sometimes it's also when you, for some reason, go into some sort of, you feel overwhelmed for some reason. Okay, so my advice would always be close your eyes, even if it is just for 5 minutes, and allow your eyes to REM. If you can allow your eyes to REM for more than 5 minutes, if you can stretch it to 20 minutes, please do, because that's very often the optimal amount of time for closing your eyes and allowing them to REM. 20 minutes, it's amazing, but if you don't have 20 minutes, do it at least for 5 minutes. And you could do, for example, the exercise that we did at the beginning of this session, okay, exactly how I showed you to do it, okay? Deep breaths, allowing to come out as if you were blowing through a straw, then go into heart-brain coherence, then go into gratitude, and then go into that joyful place with whatever it could be. It can be, you can go to a place that brings you the feeling of the opposite feeling of what you are experiencing. Okay, so if you're in stress, go to a place which is calm. Okay, if you're sad, go to a place where you're joyful. Okay, if you are doubting yourself, go to a place where you felt confident. Okay, and take it in, absorb that energy, absorb that state of mind. Okay, and then choose, because you can choose to do whatever you have to do from that place, from that state of mind. Okay, if you are in overwhelm, okay, REM without music. Okay, enjoy the silence, because sounds, music is another stimulus. Okay, so it's not going to help really if you're what you're trying to do is to allow your brain to process information, stimuli. Don't bring a stimulus into the exercise. Just allow your eyes to REM. No music, nothing. Okay, hope that makes sense. Now, oh, okay, so there was a question here. So I've already said no. So can we do the REM exercise while listening to some music or podcast? Not really. I wouldn't recommend, especially if you are in overwhelm. Okay, if you are feeling overwhelmed, don't bring any music in. If you just want to take a few minutes to allow your brain to process whatever information, then in that case, you can put some soft music, some relaxing music, if you're not in overwhelm. If you are in overwhelm, I wouldn't recommend any music at all. Okay, just enjoy the silence, that's all. Okay, very good. Right, so now I have another exercise for you. And I hope I'm going to share it here, okay, in the chat box, because that's basically, but I'm going to ask my co-host to do me the favor of sharing it with you in the group, okay, so that you can everybody can have access to the what I'm going to share here, okay, because it's another exercise and that I would very much like you to do. I think it's going to be fun. I hope you find it that way as well. Okay, so I'm sending it to the chat and I hope my co-host can also share it in the group. And what you're going
Yes.
Yes, can you share the document, the predicative change document in the group, please?
Okay.
Right, because we had the VACOG, which we've already covered, and now there's the other one, the predicative change, okay, which I would like you to go through. And once you have it, and I need you to have it, I'm going to invite you first on your own, and then maybe in groups, we'll see where life takes us. But I'm going to invite you to, number one, you've got six sentences, okay? And those 6 sentences are in a certain representational system. And the first thing that I would like you to do is to identify the representational system of the statement, okay, of the sentence. The next thing is you have a request to change it into a different representational system, okay? So I would like you to do that. Identify the original representational system that the statement is in, and then change it into the representational system that I'm asking you to change it into, okay? And I'm going to give you, honestly, let's say 15 minutes to do this exercise, because it's probably going to take a little bit, okay? Because this is all new. And listen, we're having fun here, okay? So allow yourselves to do as much as you can, okay? Doesn't have to be perfect, okay? So it's just having fun and practicing this, which I'm sharing with you, in a way that it will be probably a way in which you're going to remember, okay? So I'm going to give you a couple of the 15 minutes that I said that I would give you, so that you can go through the exercise. And then we'll see what happens, okay? Then we'll see what happens.
I share the PPT in group.
Very good. Thank you very much, sir. My friend, I'm sorry. I was joking.
Okay.
Okay, so you've got 15 minutes from now. I'm not sure I understand the question that I have in the chat. Can we do it without paying much attention? Do what, if I may ask? This is a good example of a deletion, okay? When we were talking about deletions, distortions, and generalizations, okay? This sentence has a deletion. I can't understand what do is, do what, without paying much attention, or in a simpler way. So if okay, if someone has finished the exercise, that's actually quite good. So I'm just going to give a few more minutes, okay, because we do not all have the same pace, okay? So respecting as many different paces as I can, I'm just going to give people a few more minutes, and then we'll go over the exercise, checking what you think is actually the number one, the rep. Did I do it in a rush? Okay, gotcha. I don't know. It depends. Maybe, maybe not. You see, yeah, true, because it's not easy for me to know because, okay, no, that makes sense. Okay, identifying the representational systems is probably easier than changing them from one to the next. Okay, all good, no problem. Okay, and that explains why you were fast, because basically you did half of the exercise, but that's good, it's fine, okay, no worries. Like I said, just having fun and putting our mind to the test, and that's all, okay? You know that I like experiential things rather than anything else, so that's the idea, okay? This thing of telling you a lot of things and then not giving you the opportunity of experimenting with them doesn't really agree with me. Okay, so we learn and we practice. Obviously, I don't expect you to get it amazingly. Of course, you can ask a question. We will have some time for sure, because I don't think we're going to go over time this time. Today, I'm saying the same thing over and over. Keep saying the same thing twice. So keep going, a few more minutes. And we'll see what happens. Okay, so if we listen to affirmations while doing REM, will that be helpful? Not really, no. It's the same thing with you're bringing more. No, because you're bringing more information in. And the idea of REMing is actually processing. Okay, so if you're bringing new information in, that's counterproductive. Okay, so you can do that in a different circumstance. Okay, but not, yeah, but not when you're REMing to allow your brain to process, your brain, and not just your brain, your whole system to process the information. The purpose of REMing is processing information and processing emotions, for example, as well. Okay, so it's allowing the flux of information to keep flowing, rather than coming to a point where you kind of hit the wall because there's so much information that you can't, you come to a stuck place where you feel overwhelmed. To me, it can happen very easily, but I mean, one of these days I'll explain why as well. But I mean, I remember sometimes when I was studying, and not just when I was studying, even these days, sometimes when preparing, this kind of workshop, that because you've been for so long focusing on information and reading more and this, that you come to a place that you go like, oh my God, how do I explain this? How, I can't make sense of this, or you're not being able to move on. Okay, so those are the situations where allowing yourself to just close your eyes and allow the REM to, take over, it's a good idea. Because again, when you come out of it, you will probably be ready to go back because you've allowed your system to process. It's like, at the end of the day, it's a little bit like as if we are computers, and even computers, when they're working for a long, long time, sometimes they get stuck, right? So what do we have to do? We have to reboot the computer so that it can go back to working in an optimal way. And that's what we have to do as well. No, you can use meditation to REM if you want, but the way we did it at the beginning of the session. Okay, so the way we did it at the beginning of the session, there was no music, there was no nothing. It was just me guiding you through the process, which in itself shouldn't happen but yeah, you hadn't done it before, so I facilitated it for you. But in principle, you should be able to do it yourself, okay, without external influence. Just knowing what the steps are and do it yourself. That is REMing, but REMing can be so simple as sitting, relaxing, close your eyes, nothing else. Okay, can be that simple, because when you go to sleep, that's exactly what happens. Okay, you just close your eyes and you're allowed your eyes to do what they do, the REM process. Okay, now no, just let it be, let it do what it does. Okay, the REMing process is, it's almost like software that we come into this life with, and it does what it does in perfection. Okay, it's like breathing. You don't have to tell your lungs, please breathe in and out. You don't have to tell your heart, please beat up, down, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's automatic processes that we come in with. Okay, it's part of our default system, so to speak, right? And REMing is the same. Exactly. It's part of our default system. Okay, you don't have to tell it to work, it works. Okay, it was designed for that. Okay, very good. Okay, so let's have a look, and I'm going to stop sharing the screen now for a while. Okay, because I do want to have access to my own. Okay, so I can't minimize it. Let me see what I can do then. Right, so let me see. Okay, let me do it like this. Oh, there we go. Right, so I just want to have access to these sentences. okay? And I'm counting on you to give me the answers in the chat, right? So the first sentence was, what a dark subject. So what did you identify as the representational system of this particular sentence or statement? What representational system is it in? Any ideas? What a dark subject. Someone who says this, what's his or her main representational system? Let me see. Actually not. Yes, it's visual. Thank you. Dark, light, it's visual, right? So we don't necessarily feel the darkness. We see the darkness, right? So it's visual. It's good, no problems, okay? Very good, okay. So let me see, because now I lost this thing again. Okay, very good. So this one was definitely visual, very good. So we'll identify each one of them, okay, all of them actually. We'll identify all the representational systems, and then I'll go back to help you change it into the other representational system, okay? Right, so when someone says, I hear you, what representational system is this person? Auditory, very good, perfect. Okay, next one. Hold that thought. What is this? Number 3, yes, number 2 was auditory. You're absolutely right. And now number 3, hold that thought. What is this? Kinesthetic, very good. Indeed, I've already seen exactly kinesthetic. Good, you guys are good. Okay, hold that thought, exactly, it's kinesthetic, very good. So the next one is number 4, I've got a clear picture. What is this? Visual, yes, already seen it as well. Very good, well done. Very good. Okay, number 5, that struck a chord. Yep, very good, I've seen it already as well. That struck a chord. Interesting. Actually, the struck because of the struck a chord is kinesthetic. It's not auditory, okay? If it were, now that's a chord, or now something like that, yes. But struck a chord is kinesthetic, okay? Good, and the last one is, let me see if I can find it, because this thing keeps disappearing. Laugh out loud. Which one is this one? Yeah, auditory, very good. You guys are very, very good. Okay, very good. So now let's see if we can change them. Okay, let's see if we can change them. If someone managed to change them. Okay, so let's see. Let's change a dark subject into auditory. Any ideas of how we can change this into auditory? I don't want to talk about this. Possible. Yeah, I don't want to talk about this. Very good. Okay, it's possible. Very good. Okay, my other suggestion would be, that sounds awful. Okay, yeah, you could say, that sounds awful. That sounds horrible. Okay, it's another way of using this in auditory representational system. Okay, right, so now I hear you. We want to change this, which we said it's auditory, to kinesthetic. How could this be? Very good. I can feel you. Very good. That's it. I feel you. Very good. Very, very good. Amazing. Yeah, amazing. Very good. So now hold that thought and let's change this into visual. Good. Okay. Changing it into visual could be imagine that. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Very good. Very good. Good, good, good. Now, number 4, I've got a clear picture, change it into kinesthetic. How can we change I've got a clear picture into kinesthetic? Yes, I can sense it. Yes. Yeah, I can sense it. Exactly. You could say that, or you could say, for example, oh, I've got a grip. I've got a grip. Yeah, exactly. It could be something like that. Yeah, I've got a grip. Okay, so I've got a clear picture. I've got a grip. Yes, I can sense it. Yeah, very good. Well done. Good. So now this one, that struck a chord, which is kinesthetic. Let's see if we can put this into auditory. Yeah, the striking can't come in because striking is it's what makes it kinesthetic. So it could be something like, that sounds familiar, for example. Okay, oh, that sounds familiar. Okay, or that sounds like a good idea. This one, not so much. That sounds familiar, it's better. Okay, they struck a chord and sounds familiar. Okay, good. And now finally, change it into visual, laugh out loud. Laugh out loud, how do we change this into visual? Could be, but there's another very good possibility. I'm not sure delighted is visual. I think it's kinesthetic. You feel delighted, right? Although delighted, it depends on the origin of the word, I would think. Okay, so let's go. Laugh out loud could be laughing my head off. Okay, rather than laugh out loud, laughing my head off. Okay, there's a visual here, right? I'm imagining someone laughing his or her head off, or even mine. Okay, so laughing your head off. So there's a visual component there. Okay, it's a metaphor, but it's a metaphor with a visual component. Although metaphors go beyond visual, but there's definitely a visual component in there. Okay, very good, people. You were amazing as always. Okay, and so this concludes my presentation for today about representational systems. Just remember, learn to identify what representational system the other person is coming from. Make sure that if it is an important conversation, you do your best to meet that person in his or her representational system to make sure that the person gets what you're saying, understands what you're saying, sees what you're saying. And if you're doing presentations, remember that if you want everybody to get something out of your presentation, leave speaking alone aside, because auditory is the least used representational system, and bring a mix of things into your presentation that address different representational systems. Okay, something that you can hear, something that you can see, something that you can do to experience the learning or whatever information you're sharing with people. Okay, and now if you have any other questions, I'll be very, very happy to answer your questions, which I've already answered quite a few, but it's all good, right? They were there, I was waiting, so I shared with you. But if there is any other questions that you want to ask me that are still not clear, I'll do my best to answer. Not the interests necessarily. You can, so my advice, so the question is, how can we guess other people's representational system? You're not supposed to guess. Should we notice their interests? So first and foremost, you're supposed to listen to the language that they're using, okay? It's very much the exercise that we were doing now, right? It's not spoken, it's written, but it doesn't matter, spoken or written. If you pay attention to what the person is saying, you will be able to recognize, with practice, obviously, you will be able to recognize what representational system is the one that the person works the most. Okay, so guessing is not a good idea. Can we tell by the person's interests? I suppose, but I wouldn't take that alone as a clue to the representational system. Okay, gestures as well, but mostly eye movement as well. When the person is speaking, where are the person's eyes located the most? Up, visual. Here, auditory. Down, kinesthetic. Okay, although we tend to use as we speak, right? As we speak, very often our eyes are going up and down because we're accessing feelings, we're accessing images, we're accessing sounds. So, but it can be a good, also a good indication as to where the person, what the representational system of the person is, the main one. What do V, R, V, C, and K, etc. mean in the peaks of right-handed and left-handed people? So the VR is visual remembered, right? Is when if I'm thinking of something that I know, my eyes will go up to the left, okay? And that's visual remembered or visual recall, okay? And then if I'm imagining something, right, it's visual creative. So usually my eyes go to the right. That's where I'm being creative, okay? Then you have auditory recall, which is when you're thinking, for example, of a music or of a song that you like a lot, okay? The chances are that your ear or your eyes are going to the left, right here at the eye level to the left. If you're imagining a sound, for example, your eyes will go to the right. So that's auditory creative, okay? And then down left, you're having a conversation with yourself. That's when we go into conversations with ourselves. Very often when we're trying to make sense of something, or when, God knows, we're worried about something, or we want to find a solution for something, and we're having this conversation with ourselves, okay? And then when our eyes go down to the right, then that's when you're accessing sensations and emotions, okay? Or they are just visual people. Documentaries where they tell about body language or that a person is hiding truth by looking towards right, are they deceiving? Not necessarily. I mean, I don't agree with that. I've seen a lot of people doing body language reading. And one of the things that they usually say, people that I consider experts, they say that you have to create a baseline for that person, okay? So you have to understand what the baseline of that person is when that person is speaking, you know, naturally, without being in a situation where you're trying to understand whether the person is saying the truth or not. And then you have to find the difference. When you have the person in that situation where it's being questioned about something, and it's important, it's relevant to understand whether the person is speaking the truth or not, then that's where you start comparing to that person's baseline. And if you see differences, that's where you should start wondering what's going on, okay? Exactly. You always have to use the baseline. We are not all the same, okay? We are not all the same. So different people will, although the system is pretty much the same, I keep saying the same thing, it's all, we're all the same and all different at the same time. Okay, we're all human beings. We all have a human operating system. You know, we all come with default settings like the breathing and the brain, the breathing and the heartbeat and the REM system. They're all part of our inbuilt software. Okay, let's call it that. But we don't all process things the same way. Okay, there's also variety in our oneness. Okay, and that's what makes us so amazing, right? So the question here is that we all have different life experiences as well. So at some point, remember that I mentioned the glitches, right? The glitches are going to do that I may, my eyes might behave in a way that somebody else will not behave in the same way. Okay, because we have had different experiences in life, and those experiences have contributed to our system to get some glitches, but different glitches. For some people might have been at the kinesthetic level, for other people might be at the visual, to other people might be at the auditory. So downright accessing emotions. So that's the person is accessing emotions in some way. Okay, when we're looking downright, we're accessing emotions. What that means depends on what, you know, if I am in a coaching situation, I'll have to pay attention to what the person is saying and at the same time see what's happening with the person's eyes, okay, to understand the full picture. If someone finds hard while reading a book or get distracted easily, what is the representative system? I'm not 100% sure, to be honest, that this has to do with representational system. Maybe the person is not that visual. Maybe the person is not that kinesthetic either, because reading is an activity, right? Why the person is gets distracted? So many things that could apply. Exactly. Or maybe you're tired, for example. I mean, I can give you an example of myself. I love reading. I do. I love reading. But I remember specifically one time, sometimes if my mind is busy, for example, if there's a lot that I have to deal with, I might not be able to concentrate, to focus, okay, because I'm not in the optimal state to actually just read, because my mind is constantly, you know, bombarding me with thoughts or so on and so forth. Then there can be many other situations. You can be tired, exhausted. Someone wrote here, absolutely. I remember that, for example, when I was still at university studying for an exam, I was so tired that I would read a page and then I would come to the end of the page and I would go like, what did I read? Let's start again. And then half the way through the page, I was going like, what? I can't remember what I read. So I was really tired. I needed downtime. Okay. And sometimes it can be that the subject is not of their interest, of course. Yeah. There can be a whole range of reasons why someone might find it difficult to read. Okay. So again, we shouldn't generalize. You know, again, like the life coach that I am, I would have a conversation with the person and I would, through the conversation, establish what the situation was, right? But I will have to talk to the person. I can't just decide that the person is not being able to concentrate because, you know. So How can we find out our represent? Well, through the exercise that I gave you, okay, which I believe it's available in the group. So you will probably find the two exercises that I gave in the group, and the one which is called VAKOG, okay, VAKOG, is the exercise, is the quiz that you want to do to find out your main representational system. And again, for example, some people came with, the result was a little bit of a mixed, like half-half, right? So I would have to speak with the person for a while to see, you know, what exactly, what in his or her language, what was coming up more frequently. Okay, so it's all very experiential and pragmatic. So, but if you go through the exercise that I gave you, it's already a good start. Okay. And it's definitely important so that you understand how you learn best, which you probably already know, but it might be a subconscious process, and making it conscious, it's much better, okay? Because then you can address it in a way that is optimal for you, beneficial for you. All right, any more questions before we wrap up? No more questions? Okay, so if there are no more questions, I believe we should, someone is going to summarize the session, correct?
You have any question, then you can ask.
Yes, I did. Well, I shared I think the exercises were shared in your group, correct? So, but we'll make sure that you get the exercises, okay? Yeah, the ones that I shared in the PDF file, the VAKOG PDF file. Okay, that's the one that you want to go through to get familiar with your representational system. Okay, thank you so much for the comments. I do my best. Maybe I'm not always at my best, but I do my best.
All of you give your feedback in chat box, or you can open your mic and give your feedback about today's session.
Very informative section.
Thank you. Oh, you guys are great.
Madam is very much frankly answering and very down to earth. Whenever anybody is asking very low kind of the question, Madam clears it in the very depth. I'm really inspired of Madam, teaching style. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Before we go into the summary part, let me just apologize for the delay in our sessions. There wasn't much I could do about it, but still, I'm so sorry that it took me so long to bounce back and come back to the sessions. But now we'll have the one per week until the end of the course, because whatever was in the way, it's no more in the way.
No issue. You try your best, but your circumstance is very in bad condition. Your mother death is also reason you don't give your services. Okay, you have if you don't have any question, then we can end this session.
I guess. Okay. So if there are no more questions, then enjoy the afternoon. Okay. And I'll see you next week for some more information and hopefully some more fun as well. Okay. So have a lovely, lovely Sunday.
Thanks to all of you, especially thanks to Maria. You gave your precious time and mind-blowing knowledge to us. Thanks a lot.
Much. No, thank you as well. You're a wonderful young person, as you know.
Thanks.
Okay. So bye-bye, guys. See you soon.
Okay, bye. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.